Hi BookTube. I don't have time otherwise to film, so I thought, why not film in the car while I'm sitting on the side. Well, I'm sitting in a parking lot. I'm sitting in the Tim Hortons parking lot waiting to go to work. So I thought I'd do my Friday reads. I'm a little dry, sorry, because the heat makes my throat dry. I've been drinking and all that stuff, but so anyway, so I'm just binge reading all these books at once. I read like 10 pages from one and like 30 pages from another, and like, so that's what's going on. 117 Days by Ruth First. She was a Latvian woman, but born in South Africa, and she was part of the fight against apartheid. And this is her experience in jail. So South Africa had this policy during apartheid that insurrectionists, communists, whatever they were calling them, I think they were calling them communists, the fight against communism, which you can't just call everything you don't like communism. Anyway, so they had this policy where you can be arrested without any charges, without any evidence, without, anything. The police just felt like arresting you. They could arrest you, keep you in jail for 90 days under this law. And she was done that. This is kind of like her memoir of that time, but she also talks a lot about the other people who were in the 90 days jail. It's really interesting. I just wish one thing she recognizes that, like, yes, she's being jailed, she's fighting against apartheid, but she's getting a lot of privilege as a white woman. She acknowledges it once, but there's a lot of other things that, like, she's getting, things done for her that wouldn't be done for a black woman, especially in South Africa during apartheid. So it's interesting. It's very short. I'm almost done. Can You Hear the Nightbird Call is my reread, and I'm loving that. I don't want to put it down every time I pick it up. I just got to the part where I explained the nightbird, which is, if you hear this nightbird calling, it means that death is coming, and we're at the point in the novel where things are going to start getting pretty sad. I think people are going to start dying, and you can now see it as a foreshadowing. It is, as I'm rereading it. So it's about various women, 2 women in Canada and 2 women in, or 1 woman in India, and they're all Indian, and it's taking place, right now we're in the 1980s, so they're talking about, what are they talking about? They're talking about Indira Gandhi and the Sikhs wanting their own land. So yeah, a lot of stuff is about to start to go down if you know the history of India. Then I'm reading Saving Jesus from the Church by Robin Myers. Oh, that is, I've read a lot of books that are similar, but this one is introducing some other ideas, and I'm really enjoying it. It's all about being a follower of Jesus instead of a worshiper of Christ, and so, like, following Jesus' example, as opposed to just, worshiping this deity. It's about applying your faith. It's really good. Then I'm reading George and Rue. I'm almost on that one. The murder has happened and they've just been arrested. So if you don't know, George and Rue is about by George Eliot Clark, but George Eliot Clark is not the George in the book. George and Rue are 2 men from Fredericton who murdered a taxi driver, and this George Eliot Clark is giving them a history. Yeah, it's really interesting. It talks a lot about race issues in Canada, because George and Rue are black. Yeah. And lastly, I'm reading Attack Surface by Doctorow. And that one, initially, I was a little hesitant because there was a lot of text speak going on, a lot of things that were going right over my head. I was just like, I kind of get it. I kind of get what you're talking about. But I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to like this, because if this is what this whole novel is just talking about different tech stuff, I'm not going to get it. Like, I don't know if anyone can get it unless they already know this stuff. I'm just going to fiddle with the heat a little here. But it changes like 30 pages in, thankfully, and becomes, like, they still talk about, like, the tech stuff, but it does talk more about, there is plot and action and character development stuff happening. So what it is, it's about this girl who is, she works in OPSEC, which is operational security, I believe. So she basically works for big companies and governments, and works in security and surveillance against the community, but then her conscience gets to her and she works with the community to fight back. So she's kind of like playing both sides. Yeah. And oh, my audiobook, The Grey House, the atmosphere is so amazing. Oh my gosh, I'm loving this book. There's no plot. It's all just about this group of boys, all with different disabilities, living in this boarding house, but it's also like a school, so it's boarding school. That's what I meant to say, but it came out house. And them just, I can't even really explain it. You have to listen to it to understand that, like, the atmosphere and the game and this. It's playing it's like fairy tales and the Lost Boys, I was saying, like the vampires, but there's no vampires in the story. Oh no, I'm gonna be stuck on the wrong side of the train. Okay, yeah, it's a great story audiobook. I'm gonna switch you around, and you can see the train. Here comes the train. Can you see it? And oh, it's just changing stuff here. There we go. Okay. Sorry I don't have any other videos up yet, but the plan is there to do it. So I'll see you next week.